Is Jason Goes to Hell the final Friday awesome or awful? It's time to tackle that question. Welcome, everybody. Today we're talking about Jason Goes to Hell the final Friday. Let's see if it's awesome or awful. Before we get into the video, make sure you're commenting on the video. Make sure you're liking the video. Make sure you're subscribing. Set up those notifications. Let me know what types of videos you want to hear. And I definitely want to keep producing this content for you. It's just fun as hell for me to do. So, let me know the kinds of videos that you are more interested in watching. Also, make sure you watch until the end of the video for the topic of the day. We can further talk about this in the comments. Alright, so the year is 1993. Jason has not graced the big screen in 4 years, the longest gap to date for this franchise. Manhattan was both the worst reviewed and the lowest grossing film in Friday the 13th history. It provided a resolution to the series, albeit stupid and confusing, but a resolution just the same. So why would a movie studio go back to the Friday the 13th well? For a shot at the same prize that eluded Friday the 13th for years, a showdown between Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger from A Nightmare on Elm Street. New Line Cinema, which owned the rights to Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, had also acquired the rights to Jason Voorhees' character. But just when it looked like a path to getting Freddy vs. Jason might have actually finally have been cleared, Wes Craven, the writer-director of the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie, decided to return to the franchise as the writer-director of a fascinating new installment called Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Hell of a movie. Thank you, Wes, for that movie. It was definitely what the Nightmare franchise kind of needed at the time, and it was just so well done and well thought out. So, Freddy's occupied. What's Jason to do? Basically, the project began under the watchful eye of the man who started it all, Sean S. Cunningham, who directed the original Friday the 13th in 1980. Adam Marcus at the time was just 23 years old. He was handed the reins to the next Friday the 13th film by Cunningham. Cunningham did stay on to produce. But while the return of Cunningham might seem on paper like a back-to-basics move, he quickly agreed to make the most radical pivot in Friday the 13th history. Marcus was adamant that Jason going through Camp Crystal Lake was the last thing fans wanted to see. So, whether the fans wanted it or not, Jason Goes to Hell was destined to make some massive changes to the Friday the 13th canon. According to effects supervisor Howard Berger, one early script opened with the adolescent Jason Voorhees having sex with his mother. Another script that was abandoned would have seen Jason passing the torch to his never-seen-before-mentioned brother, who was bigger and meaner than he was, and he would embark on his own killing spree. That could have been interesting. I'll give it that. Another story was going to be a Boys in the Hood type of tale where Jason goes to L.A., forcing two groups of inner-city black youths to team up and take him out. Harmless enough, not the best idea, but it would have at least been a fun watch. So in the end, Marcus's cut ended up back in the hands of Sean S. Cunningham, who described his version of Jason Goes to Hell as a disaster and way past an embarrassment and unreleasable. After working with editors, Cunningham salvaged 45 or 50 minutes of Marcus's footage, padded it with the more conventional Friday the 13th material demanded by test audiences. Things like a teen couple having sex on the shore of Camp Crystal Lake. More a little with Jason and his machete. Which probably explains why when people watch the film, they're like, some of these things feel like afterthoughts, because they were, right? And it's interesting in the dynamic of how that was done, but it just, films like that struggle, for the least bit. So, they've tricked us before with saying the final chapter, so we're not going to fall for that again, right? With this being the final Friday. Okay, first and foremost, is this movie canon? Hell no. How does Jason all of a sudden have a family? Where was Creighton Duke been throughout the entire series? I mean, this guy pretty much knows everything there is to know about Jason. So you would have think he didn't just hop on the trail now and he's been around for a while. Even goes as far as to say that he's watched Jason. So all these things, again, no family ever mentioned before. It's hard to believe that this is canon. You can't really treat it that way. Also, this film kind of reminds me of some of the things that I hate about Sean S. Cunningham. He wanted nothing to do with the franchise after the first film. He basically complained saying Jason is dead. So I don't know why he's running around, or so it's the money talks, and he was able to come back to the series. He came back, he complained about everything, but my thoughts, maybe they should have brought back somebody who had actually done a movie with Jason in it. Someone like Steve Miner, who directed part 2 and part 3. Remember, Sean Cunningham directed a movie that basically didn't have Jason in it. He most definitely wasn't the killer. Alright, so this is an awesome versus awful movie, so let's start talking about some of the awesome parts of this movie. The different storyline, love it or hate it for the many reasons why people hate this movie, because it's not Jason, and it's basically a demon that came over and this alien crawling out of his neck and all that stuff. I appreciated that. I really liked it. Of course, it did remind me of other movies, Alien being one, I guess, Fallen with the whole taking bodies over and all. So I kind of appreciated that part. The opening of the film is absolutely awesome. From everywhere, from the hot girl in the shower, and then the way she gets away, and then, her just jumping over things, and all of a sudden the FBI comes out. It took them long enough to figure out how to take him out, but I thought that intro was a great opening for the movie. It also left people wondering, like, wait, what the hell just happened and what the hell is about to happen, because there's still about 83 minutes left in this movie. Jason's reason for coming back was actually kind of cool. So he can only be killed by another Voorhees. So in order to truly be invincible, he needs to take them all out, right? And I kind of appreciated that. Again, where were all these people, years before? But it's that, like I said, if you don't treat it as canon, it becomes a little more interesting. Probably my favorite, most awesome part about the movie was Creighton Duke, played by Stephen Williams. He's one of the most memorable characters in the series as a whole, not just this movie. There was a cool Easter egg that a lot of people miss. So Jessica's estranged boyfriend, Stephen, actually discovers the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, a book bound in human flesh that resurrect the dead. Obviously, it was a huge part of the Evil Dead franchise. So they're talking, or they show it as a way maybe being the explanation for Jason's supernatural, easy for me to say, immortality. So it was an interesting part that a lot of people kind of skipped over, but something when you watch the movie again, make sure you take a notice on that one. The cliffhanger of an ending with Freddy's glove, right? We hoped we would finally get a Freddy vs. Jason movie. It was talked about for a while. Of course, even after this movie, Jason still went to space before he could go back and fight Freddy, because more delays occurred. It just almost felt like a cursed movie that was never going to get made, and we wanted it so bad as genre fans. So, again, separate this film from all the others in the series, and it's a pretty awesome movie. A lot of people say that when Jason went to hell, the franchise kind of went to hell as well. The one other thing that I liked about this is the body melting scene. I found that to be cool. I thought the special effects were pretty good with it. The problem that I had is it didn't make any sense. I didn't even understand what the purpose of it was. It was like basically a Hellraiser, ripped scene. But I never quite understood the purpose of it. It was so out of place for this franchise. All right, now on to the awful. And I was actually kind of surprised at how many items I have in my list of awful. So first and foremost, and not expecting anybody to know this, my theatrical experience for this movie was absolutely horrendous. Went into the movies, was watching a movie with a girl, was so excited. I mean, I'd been waiting for this movie for so long, and she was excited because I was excited. And kind of went in there, and we was like an inner city movie theater. I'd never had that experience before, and I didn't think it would be any different than whenever I would watch movies anywhere else. The experience was definitely not my cup of tea. Looking back, I can see how people would have a good time like that, but basically, you couldn't really hear much of what was going on in the movie at all. I mean, the girl shows a little skin and everybody starts making a ton of noise. The girls are screaming about why does she have to be naked. The guys are screaming. They're like, yeah, I was silently doing the yeah. Jason comes out and the theater goes batshit crazy. I had never seen anything like it in my life. People were literally, everybody stood up and started just throwing things and screaming at the top of their lungs. We got up and left the theater and, went up to the desk and kind of said, hey, I want a refund. That was horrible. I can't even hear or see the movie. And they're like, yeah, I don't think this theater is really for you. And, like I said, looking back, I'm sure it is fun for people. I was a Friday the 13th nerd that was dying to see that movie. So, shame on me. All right. Awful. Again, the family. Diana Kimball, Jason's half-sister, played by Erin Gray. She also had her own daughter, Jessica, played by Carrie Keegan. Where the hell did they come from? You would think that these kinds of things would have kind of made it into any of the other movies beforehand. All right, Creighton Duke said he was awesome, but how the hell did he know all this? Through a Voorhees he was born, through a Voorhees may be reborn, and only by the hands of a Voorhees will he die. I probably butchered that, but you get what I mean. Like, how does he know all this? It's not like he's seen this play out before or something like that. Another thing that is kind of awful. Has the FBI been tracking Jason for all these years? He's not exactly hard to find. You go to Crystal Lake. The movie doesn't want to spend any time answering these questions, so we have to talk about them. Also, Jason's body is blown up 7 minutes into the movie. You get a Jason movie with Jason barely in it. That's just so weird. Again, parts of the reason that are awful were parts of some of the things that I found awesome, but alright. The scene that I never quite understood, I get what they were trying to do, but what the hell is the coroner? Why does he feel compelled to go and eat Jason's heart? It was such a weird scene. Again, this was like the body melting scene. I don't quite understand. I get it. They had to get Jason like into him in some way, but it was just so weird. It was a very awkward scene. All right, so one thing that I never hear anybody talk about, but it always kind of bugged me. Jason said words through the body of a cop in this movie. So, when he was in the body of the reporter, he wasn't talking. All of a sudden, at the end of the movie, there's this whole, oh, is it this guy or is it this guy? And Creighton screaming, kill them both, because you don't know which one might be Jason. And, the one didn't talk, but the one did talk, and then next thing you know, he's the one that's Jason. It was very weird to me. Speaking of weird, the whole scene, like, why does Jason strap down a cop, strip off his clothes, shave off his mustache before he possesses his body? It's creepy as hell to watch, I'll give him that. But I have no idea what it's supposed to mean. It was just one of those things. It was almost like, they had a scratch pad of ideas and then they were pulling things out. It's like, oh, this would be cool. Shave a guy, right? And it very weird, very uncomfortable scene to watch, I would say, too. A demon and Jason, really? This was just done in Freddy, and Freddy's dead as well. So they didn't reach too far to grab that idea. Again, when I mentioned disjointed scenes before, the added scenes, like a couple having sex just for the sake of being more of a Friday the 13th movie, was unneeded. It talk about forcing something that just isn't there. I had done a previous video and said that I didn't really like the way Jason looked in Jason Takes Manhattan. To me, this could be my least favorite look for Jason. I don't know what it is. It's just, I don't know, just puffy in areas. So it's a little weird. All right, to me, the title Jason Goes to Hell kind of feels like a bait and switch. I see where they were kind of going there, but after Manhattan, it feels like they're saying Jason went to Manhattan and started killing people. Now we're all thinking, oh shit, he's going to hell and he's going to have to fight his way out. It's not exactly how it played out, though. The whole hell bit only factored in at the final minutes of the movie. All right, so thank you for checking out this video. Make sure you're leaving your comments and telling me other types of videos you want to hear. I'm going to leave you with a topic for today. So, as I promised in the beginning of the video, in the comments below, tell me how you would have started Jason Goes to Hell. Would you have ignored the ending of Jason Takes Manhattan where he becomes a child? Or would you have tried to do something else with that storyline? I want to hear ideas and I want to hear what people have to say before I start commenting on that. All right. So make sure you're liking this video. Make sure you're commenting on this video. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel. Definitely want folks to subscribe and set up notifications so you know when these next videos drop. So until the next episode, just keep it hard.